PF, oratory, domestic extemp, and informative. And I ended as the vice president of the Taylor High School, or like co-president of the Taylor High School speech and debate team, as well as a public speaking captain and PF captain. And I currently go to Rice University. I'm in my final year at Rice University.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason. I've also been with KCA since the initial founding. For high school, I went to a boarding school in Connecticut called the Hotchkiss School, to which I was a part of speech and debate all 4 years and the president of the team my senior year. Like Audrey, I've done a lot of different debate events. In middle school, I really concentrated on public speaking, Congress, and PF. In high school, I mostly competed in parliamentary debate. And then in college, currently, I compete in both British parliamentary debate and also American parliamentary debate. And I'm a current sophomore at Brown University.
Hello, my name is Arjun. I started with KSTA whenever I was in middle school. For some context, I'm a junior in college at Rice right now. So I was a student at KSTA for 2 years, and then I coached at KSTA throughout high school. I went to Seven Lakes High School where I did a few events. I started in LD and I did some speech like oratory, but junior, senior year, spent more time in PF. So I was the PF captain. At the end of the senior year, I ended up finishing second at NSA Nationals. So I decided to continue debating in college, where now I'm part of Rice's National Parliamentary Debate Association team. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Hey, I'm Parth, and I was with KSTA for 6 years. 2 of those years I was a student here, learned a lot, and then the next 4 I was a coach here, and just really enjoyed my time. I went to Seven Lakes High School. I competed in Congress, extemp, oratory, and even impromptu. So at the state level, I got to finals in impromptu, and yeah, just had a blast there. And then right now I'm at Harvard University, and I'll probably be doing debate here as well.
And so our first question is, how did you get started with speech and debate, and what did that look like for you?
I guess I could start out. I started back when the speech and debate scene in middle school was a lot more divided than it is now. There was really only LD and PF. But my mom found it and she was like, you have to enroll because all you do is argue with me. And so I don't know why she did that, because it made our arguments only more tense. But as it went on, I definitely enjoy it a lot. I started with LD, but then when I got into high school, I switched over to doing PF. But I think one of my main passions is in public speaking, and I feel like public speaking has helped me so much. I've obviously, as I said, I experimented with a lot of different events. If anyone else wants to hop in, but I could answer that real quick. So LD is short for Lincoln Douglas. It's a one-on-one debate. And PF is public forum, which is a 2 versus 2 debate. And those are the most popular debate events at the middle school level. And I guess that are not as heavily speech oriented. Does someone want to step in and talk about Congress? Because I am not as experienced in participating in Congress. So if someone wants to explain how Congress works, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I did Congress for all 6 years. I was the main. I just love Congress a lot. It's like you're imitating the U.S. Congress. There's like 20. Oh, wait, can y'all hear me? Okay, yeah, my AirPods is but it's like 20 people in a chamber. You have like 5 judges, and you're basically debating different pieces of legislation. I think that's the best debate form in my opinion, but I am biased. A lot of people do like PF too and LD. But yeah, for me, my parents did like make me do debate at first. I really didn't enjoy it because debate is a little bit difficult. But I think the more difficult something is, the more rewarding the results are. That was good. I'm sorry, my roommate just came in. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. So it is a little difficult, but the reward is huge. So it's nice. testing out different events, I think everyone should. Like, you don't really know what you want to do. For me, I just got lucky with Congress, but I know a lot of my friends, they tried Congress, then LD, then finally found PF and stuff. So definitely you're going to have to be pushed a little bit, but I think in the end, you're going to find speech and debate to be really, really rewarding.
Yeah, I had a super similar experience to Audrey. I started doing debate when I was super, super young. I think I started when I was in fourth grade, and for that first initial year, I worked on really basic public speaking skills. So I had a class at the Katie Huaxia Chinese School, to which we just did a lot of like simple speaking exercises, just becoming more comfortable speaking from a crowd. And then the year after, the fall course was a lot higher intensity. So it was actually competitive class to which you'd be able to learn competitive events and then with the intention of being able to compete in tournaments. I think that shift was really difficult for me. And as a little kid, as a fifth grader, I was really intimidated with even starting like extemporaneous speaking. Other debate events are a lot more formal, a lot more complex, require a lot more knowledge. And to that, at first, it was really difficult. Like Parth, my parents made me take that class. And after initially wanting to quit that class, I was not successful in those attempts to quit that class. But as put more time into it, put a lot more effort into it, obviously it has gone to a lot more fruitful experience that has really taught me a lot. So I think intentionally within starting speech and debate, it is a rough road, but it's something that requires a lot of knowledge, requires hard work, and with a lot of dedication and resilience, it's something that could be as fruitful of an experience as it has been for a lot of us.
I can talk about my experience too. Mine was a little bit different. So whenever I was in middle school, I got rejected from the Beckendorf Science Olympiad team. So I was kind of thinking of other things to do. And luckily at the same time, Audrey happened to be tutoring me in math. So Miss Liu introduced me to the world of debate through Katie Speech and Debate. So I thought this would be something that would be kind of interesting to me. So I picked it up. At first, I was pretty big in like the speech Congress stuff too. And this is probably thinking more ahead, but whenever I got into high school, I started switching around and I realized that I was much more interested on the debate side as opposed to the speech side. So I guess like my big word of advice for you all is even within debate, there are different areas of things that you might be more interested in, things that you might not necessarily be as interested in. And you really have to try everything to see what you're really good at and what you really want to do.
Thank you, guys. And our next question is, how did speech and debate help you grow personally?
I'll let some of the younger kids start off, and I'll end it because I feel like as the oldest, I gotta end on this one.
I guess as the youngest, I'll go first. I think speech and debate really just like helped me get out of my shell. Like I wasn't like a shy person, but I was kind of quiet. And that speech and debate, it just really kind of throws you in there and makes you speak. Like the help you get from the coaches and Miss Liu is just amazing. They get you out of your comfort zone. They teach you everything you need to know, and they do it in a way that you feel confident when you're going up there. There's a lot of feedback. There's just so much support that you have that when you're doing in-class debates or like just during the program, you're just really confident, and that translates to everything outside. Like I'm a pre-med concentrator here at Harvard, and I can tell you, like speech and debate is helping me right now too. Like I'm able to talk to so many people because of that, because I just have the confidence of knowing how to speak to someone. And yeah, it just really helped me make friends. It helped me in my interviews. It helped me in just so many places. And I think that was a huge part because of KSTA. I made a lot of cool friends through it. And yeah, I think I just became a better person, someone who's more understanding of the problems the world faces. I have a better understanding of what I want to do because of it. And yeah, speech and debate just been a huge part of that.
Yeah, going off of Parth, obviously speech and debate gives you a lot of people skills, a lot of communication skills, a lot of public speaking skills. Those are very evident in not only the name itself, but I think that all those listed things on the slide there are very much so true. Speech and debate absolutely helps you with confidence. It absolutely helps you with emotional resilience. All those things are true. Some things I want to add, like first is like analytical thinking, especially within debate. It really teaches you how to think and analyze at a really complex level. those skills are not just skills that you need within middle school, within high school, but within college, also more evidently through life. Those are all skills that you will always need. The last thing I want to talk about is how debate makes you a lifelong learner. I started debate when I was in elementary school. I'm still doing debate in college. Like, I still learn things every single weekend when I'm competing in debate. I still learn things every single practice round I do throughout the week. Speech and debate really allows you to open up your mind to a lot of different conversations, a lot of topics that without it you would never have to consider. And I think that that's really valuable. Really exposing yourself to new topics, new information, pieces of learning, I think is super, super important, not only when you're a student, but also within life.
Yeah, I mean, briefly reiterating what Jason just mentioned, I do think that like the analytical thinking skills that I got out of debate was probably the biggest influence it has had on me. There are a lot of things that I do now that I don't really think about consciously, but I'm trying to process certain things in the way that I would kind of process a debate argument, right? Like I'd, order certain things that I need to do, or I'd kind of like solve problems in specific ways. But I think another really undervalued way in which speech and debate helped me personally was just through the community. I met a lot of really good friends through speech and debate, both in high school and in college. And I feel like if it weren't for the community, I wouldn't really have as much incentive to stay in the activity. So for context, most of my high school, like junior, senior year was like a COVID year, but a lot of debate tournaments were still happening virtually. So I'd still be talking to a lot of people online, and I met a lot of really great friends that way just because we had that one thing in common, which typically correlated with a lot of other things in common too. So I mean, in college, maybe 3 years out of the scene from high school, I'm not really thinking about specific rounds that I had then. But I do feel like a lot of the friends that I've made, I'm still in contact with, and a lot of the like learning skills I've developed, I'm using that in my everyday.
And I kind of want to, I mean, Arjun read it from straight from my mind. I wanted to emphasize the things that are outside of like, I guess what your parents, or if there's parents in the call, what y'all are thinking of as, the best parts of speech and debate, which is like the applicable hard skills. But rather, I think the community and the friends is actually such a big deal. I think it's really overlooked, but anytime you're in an activity that is really time consuming, like speech and debate is, um, you naturally make like lifelong bonds. Jason is extremely close friends with my little sister, best friends with my little sister. They've been friends from speech and debate. My current best friend is someone I met back in high school. He went over and studied in London, actually. And we still kept in touch, and he's still keeping in touch with a lot of other Seven Lakes High School debate friends that he made from speech and debate. And friends I've made in college, as Arjun said, when I came to Rice, a lot of people that I met were participating in speech and debate, and we were able to bond over our experiences of understanding like we've gone to these long tournaments and we know how it feels, and that's kind of like the emotional resilience of like learning how to take losses differently, right? Speech debate is not only about winning, but when you do lose, it's like bonding with other people, whether it be complaining about why you shouldn't have deserved to lose that round, or like, oh man, I really messed up that round, and now I'm learning how to come back from that loss and go into my next event without that affecting me. And that's such a big deal, especially like in college, when you have exam after exam after exam, and you feel like you weren't prepared for one thing, but you know you're prepared for the next. You got to switch your mindset and just change gears and go straight into that next thing without letting those other things affect you. So I feel like there's a lot of hidden ways that speech and debate really benefits your life outside of just improving your speaking or improving your debating skills.
And actually, we just had another panelist join us, Michael. So would you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, I was late, everyone, but my name is Michael. I am currently going to Rice University, and I mainly debated public forum debate for Seven Lakes. Like I'm sure, like Arjun, just like Arjun. And yeah, just excited to share anything that I know, anything that I can help with anyone.
And so our next question is, how did speech and debate help you grow academically?
I could start us off. I feel like the most obvious one is with writing essays, especially when you've done public speaking events. And I mean, anyone who's in the classes knows we focus on analyzing articles and then turning around and giving speeches off those articles, whether it be summarizing or, extemporizing further on those topics. And that's definitely the most direct, like one-to-one application in my opinion of, we're reading this thing, then we're going to analyze this thing and do it quickly. If you're going into high school, in class times writes, those are definitely not easy, but having the speech and debate experience makes it a lot easier.
I can go next. So emphasizing the word quickly. So for all the parents in the Zoom, if you could quickly like close your ears for a second, but I was a big time procrastinator in high school and college. But I do feel like the debate skills that I developed have helped me write really solid essays like much faster than a lot of my peers. Just because like one, like during debate, you're kind of practicing being able to come up with arguments very quickly and on the spot. But secondly, you're exposed to a lot of different topic areas too, right? So if you're doing PF, Congress, extemp, whatever, you have to do a lot of research and you have to be up to date on current events. So I know at least in high school for a lot of like essays, especially in class timed writes, I would just use some evidence from some very specific like debate research that I already did. And then the teacher would think I was just, I don't know, a genius for like knowing that on the spot, when in reality, like everybody on the team has been preparing that for 2 months. So I mean, in an academic sense, it is pretty useful to like have a lot of that information and a lot of the skills for being able to do things pretty quickly. But it also helps you like just in general to be very knowledgeable about the world and being able to come up with arguments on the spot.
I can go next. Yeah, writing essays is a big thing. I want to go a little bit away from that. Um, Learning how to speak is learning how to think because you can articulate your ideas so much better. And that comes from being able to organize your ideas. And that's just huge in like any class, in my opinion. Like when I'm writing my essays, even if I'm doing a math problem, like everything is just so useful. Like it's going to make your life easier, especially in your writing classes. But I think it's just something you can apply to your entire life.
This is like a hidden one. I think that something I've really been working on this past year. Similar to how Arj just started his, if there's any parents at the call, close your ears. Mom, especially, don't listen right now. But I was really bad at taking notes in classes because I had always like been ahead of high school and middle school curriculum. So when I got to Rice, things were definitely a lot more complicated. And being a speech and debate, I learned how to take notes in debate rounds or preparing extemp speeches and learning specific shorthands or how to set up my notes in a way that allows me to remember them without looking at them. And now I'm able to really apply those skills into any class, really. Um, and being able to, learn how to take notes in a way that works for me. Maybe other people might not understand it, or maybe my debate partner from high school might still understand it because you're always on the same wavelength as your debate partner. But other than that, I feel like learning how to take notes is such a critical part of academics that we don't really look at because it's not a direct thing to your grades, right? But obviously, it impacts your ability to do well on exams and anything like that.
Also, real quickly, I know we talked a lot about, oh, you get better at this and that. It's a really slow process. Like when you take speech and debate, it'll be a while before you get good. Because like it won't, it's not like in the first month you take it and then second month you're a genius writer who like knows everything. Like this is really, really slow. Just from personal experience, I was pretty bad at speech and debate for the first like year and a half. I probably didn't even make it to like a top three at any tournament until like my second year. Like this is like eighth grade. But yeah, it's a slow process. Be patient with yourselves. Parents, be patient with your children. That's huge. Just take some time out. Just be happy. Just take it easy on yourself.
I think a lot of what's been said is super, super helpful in terms of understanding how speech and debate helps you academically on a basic level. Like the unique angle I could probably provide is from the perspective of someone that ended up going somewhere else for high school. So I was supposed to go to Seven Lakes, but instead of that, I went to a boarding school in the New England area. And I think that speech and debate really helped bridge the gap academically that I was missing. That really provided me a good like launching pad from going from public school to private school. I think that's something that when you go to private school, a lot of people talk about how much more difficult the academic rigor is. But I think that you don't really understand how much of a transition that is unless you go through it. And I will say that speech and debate is the one opportunity that I did throughout my middle school years that really set me up for success in a much more difficult academic um, arena, I would say. Like in my freshman year of high school, I was taking a philosophy class to which I don't know as a 15-year-old why they were having me read philosophy or why it's important for me to know who Joves is. If you don't know who that is, you shouldn't need to know. But I think that the analytical skills, the reading skills, the writing skills, all those critical thinking skills I gained throughout my many, many years of teaching debate, both with KDSCA, also prior, really set me up the best way I could for a much more rigorous academic environment. That goes true for private high schools. That is also true for college, right? Think about any academic environment that is more rigorous, right? I think that speech and debate really does a good job in covering all the bases and making sure that you're ready to prepare yourself to really receive academic knowledge at a higher rigor.
Now moving on to the next question. How did you participate in speech and debate in high school and in college?
So I can go first. So in high school, I mainly participated in public forum, which was a just 2v2 style format with my debate partner, and we researched a lot of different topic ideas. Like I said, it can be used for a bunch of like different school classes, but just research a bunch of different topic ideas, and I went to a lot of tournaments. Like I remember some of my favorites were like Harvard or Georgetown, or even some in New York. And pretty much we just debated about certain real world issues and tried to kind of convince the judge that, our arguments and our side was the most valuable. And also additionally, just did a little bit of extemporaneous debate, which is just kind of more on the fly, quick thinking. So a lot of just portable skills that come from debate. And then in college, just not on the speech and debate team like I'm sure some people are here, like Arjun, but I have done a fair amount of judging, just judging rounds and helping other students and coaching other students as well.
Yeah, as someone else who isn't actively participating in speech and debate in college, there's still ways to be involved in the community. Obviously, Michael and I are both coming back and helping with KSDA whenever we have time to. Obviously for me, I'm living at home over the summer, so I a lot of the students here probably recognize me from helping them. And in addition, at the high school level, my main debate event once I got into junior and senior year was also public forum. My partner and I qualified for nationals, and qualified in state in both domestic except and informative. Feels like forever now, so I'm trying to remember. Um, and as far as leadership goes, I was pretty active in terms of I think fundraising captain one year for Seven Lakes High School, and then I became public speaking captain and public forum captain and some sort of presidential position, something like that, in high school. But in college, I've focused into coaching because I kind of actually enjoyed that more than even just participating in speech and debate sometimes. So for me, that's where I've shifted my gears to.
So I can kind of detail my like middle school, high school, college journey. So as I mentioned before, in high school, I ended up doing pretty well at the end. I got second place at nationals and PF, but my trajectory was not very linear, right? So I kind of started off doing like okay in Congress, and then I thought like, oh, maybe let's do LD. Then in my sophomore year of high school, I did LD. I was terrible at it. I didn't qualify to state. You need like 12 points to qualify. I had one, so I kind of thought it would be nice to change things up. So I partnered with one of my friends in PF who was already doing pretty well, and it was a lot of work to try to get there. But like one of the biggest things I would say is don't get discouraged. I mean, sometimes you'll see a lot of teams that are really good early on and feel as if you have no way of, being even close to them. But a lot of it is hard work and a lot of it is also luck, especially when it comes to judging too. So especially if you're losing around, like Audrey mentioned, you'll definitely learn how to like deal with that because a lot of times things are just out of your hand. So in high school, I also coached at KSDA, and I thought that that was actually pretty helpful to me because as a coach and as a judge, you see things that you don't really see as a competitor. So I didn't really do much coaching after high school, but I definitely feel like the coaching that I did do was very helpful to me as a debater. So, I mean, whenever you're in high school and you do have the opportunity, if you're still participating in debate, I'd strongly recommend coming back and giving back to the community because it does help you as a competitor too. And then also briefly in college, I decided, well, I was initially planning on helping coach at Seven Lakes, but for me at least, like my schedule wouldn't really allow it. So I didn't end up going through with that, but I did continue to compete, where I started to do parliamentary debate, which is slightly different. And I definitely felt, and again, this is like long way ahead for most of you, but I definitely joined because I really enjoyed the community in high school and I wanted to continue that throughout college. So I know that was kind of a lot. But the big takeaways are like don't get discouraged early on, and then try new things to see what you enjoy.
I can go next after Arjun. I also had a really wonky trajectory, I would say. My joke that I like to tell people is I peaked in debate in middle school. I think that's when I found the most competitive success. I was pretty involved in teaching debate in my middle school years. I think me and Michael partnered actually for a few tournaments when we were in middle school. But during that, I was super really active in both public speaking and debate. I think it was a little more successful in the public speaking side, particularly with extemporaneous speaking. But different than probably every single person in this call, when I went to boarding school for high school, the competitive environment, not the competitive circuit within speech debate was a lot less so. So I actually, in my 4 years of debate in high school, was not very super competitive or super rigorous within that circuit. Like I said, I was the president my senior year and I did find competitive success, but it was very, very different. I think the only big thing that happened was that I did compete at Worlds in South Africa my senior year. It's a different Worlds than the NSDA circuit. So this one mainly is comprised of private institutions across the world, and it was in South Africa. I think I don't remember how many people were there, but because it was not super competitive in high school, it's been a really driving force for me to compete competitively in college. To which, like Arjun, I'm competing at the college level on the Brown debate team. Not something I ever saw myself doing in college, but something I've had a lot of fun with. I think in the last few months of school, competed at nationals in Washington, D.C. That was super sick. And then at the end of the year this year, I'm going to, I think, Panama for the I don't remember the acronym, but that's also going to be a lot of good fun. The main thing that I've gotten out of college debate that I'm super excited about is coming back into coaching. One thing I was super jealous about all the people in this call was that because they were local in high school, they had the opportunity to come back to KSDA and really help out with coaching. That's something that I wasn't able to do in my high school years, but every single time I'm back in Houston these days, I find myself at the Lou residence helping coach some kids if possible. That has been something that has been super rewarding. This summer, I was back in Lakeville, Connecticut, coaching a summer program in speech and debate, and that was super fun. And I've just done some private tutoring here and there, but it's been a really nuanced way for me to continue my involvement with speech debate that is outside of just competing.
Now moving on to the next question, how did speech and debate help you in the college application or high school application as well?
Parth, why don't you start off on this
Yeah,
one?
I was about to. Yeah, guys, I just went through the entire college application process this like past year in like January. So yeah, speech and debate first achievements. You got like 5 awards to put. Speech and debate was like my number two or like number three. So that's a pretty big thing. And then definitely for one of my 10 activities, I put it because I did it for all 4 years. So in that respect, it helps you too. But then I think more than that, speech and debate helps you with your essays and your interviews, which are huge. Like I think essays are more important than your extracurriculars and achievements if you write a really, really good essay. And speech and debate is what sets you up for it. Because, like I said, learning how to speak is learning how to think, it's learning how to organize. And that's what an essay basically is. It's putting your thoughts into an organized and understandable way, which is pretty hard. Like it sounds easy to do, but like when you get start doing it, it's extremely difficult. And yeah, speech and debate just made that a lot easier. And then interviews, I think, are pretty straightforward. Talk to someone, be amicable, and speech and debate literally just helps you learn how to speak. So it's pretty useful for interviews, especially when for most interviews you won't get the questions in advance. So it's like learning how to think on your feet is pretty important, and speech and debate does prepare you well, and that's regardless of the event you do. Like I did Congress all 6 years, and that, like we had a questioning period. I know PF has it, I know LD has it. I know like a lot of public speaking events, like they're quick on their feet too. So it just helps you in your entire process.
Kind of more specific or like a little side story. When I was interviewing for Rice, I still remember this because I was obviously really nervous. It was the first college interview that I would be doing. And I remember going in and it was I think senior at Rice. And the thing is, I never got his name. He mumbled I'm so serious. He like barely said his name at a volume that I could hear it. And then I asked again, like when we got into the room and it was quiet, and I still couldn't hear what his name was. And so the whole time I was just thinking to myself, I just need to make sure I'm loud and clear and I'm enunciating and that he can understand me so he can remember me because I'm not remembering him because I still don't know like there's always that advice like you need to email whoever did your interview just like say thank you and stuff. I couldn't email him because I don't know who he was. And so for me like I feel like that was such a big moment like of me realizing like this is the person interviewing me to go into this school. And when I was asking this guy about his like extracurriculars and like what he does, like does he have a lot of friends and like whatever you're supposed to ask in a college interview. And I remember him saying like all he does is study at the library. And I was like, oh, this is definitely an interview of sorts. Why do I feel like I'm the one interviewing him? Like it felt like backwards almost. And I feel like for me, and obviously going into jobs and getting interviews for internships and things like that too. Obviously, again, way ahead for y'all, but you guys could still be going like summer camps and things like that. I remember I applied for a volunteer program when I believe was a sophomore in high school, and there was an interview process for that as well. And so having that speaking skills and being able to speak confidently and being able to present yourself in a very professional manner while still having energy and, all of us here, I'm listening to them speak and I'm like, wow, I can still hear them being themselves, but they still sound so professional. And it's not the same way that I would be talking to them outside of a more professional setting. So knowing how to switch in and out of that professional mindset um it works wonders everywhere for sure.
I think that honestly, for me, I wouldn't say it was like obviously my entire application, but it definitely did shape like a major portion of it, considering like, well, first of all, even for my essay, like, speech and debate definitely does help you organize and communicate your thoughts better with other individuals and helps you write better as a result. But also, I mean, my essay partially, it was also about like speech and debate. And then for even like activities, I think speech and debate was one of my top two activities that I listed. And then also like Par said, there's a bunch of awards that you can definitely put down. So I think that um, and not only that, but also the sort of the different peers and the individuals that you get to meet within speech and debate, like they can help you I guess not only look at your essays, but also like I remember one of my activities was a nonprofit organization that I did for speech and debate as well. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities, different ways that you can implement um, a lot of different activities in speech and debate on your college application, and it's honestly very helpful.
And moving on to the next question, how did the KSDA experience help you with all of this? And how is the KSDA program different from others?
I have to leave really quickly, so I'm gonna go first. So KSDA isn't a speech and debate program. It's basically a family. Miss Lou is so caring. Like you built such a nice community here. All the instructors, a lot of the people that are on this panel right now legitimately taught me, and like I couldn't be more grateful. So all the coaches, they're really, really helpful. They're really great. You get to know everyone really well. You just form a really like supportive community. And I think that's a huge difference that KSDA has from a lot of different programs. They're just so supportive. They have good coaching. Miss Lou is so invested in all her students, which is amazing. She's like an Asian parent. She's strict, but that's because she cares so much, and that's just a great thing to have. It's always better to have a strict teacher than just one who doesn't care. So it's amazing. Like everyone at KSDA feels like a family. So yeah, I'd recommend KSDA. It's amazing, and thank you so much for having me today, guys.
Thank you for coming, Parth.
Yeah, so it's been a while since I was in KSDA. I think I started 7 years ago, which is like crazy to think about now. So a lot of it has obviously changed since I've been there, but I can kind of talk about my experience at least and why I think it was very helpful for me, the time that I did start. So as I mentioned at the beginning, like the reason why I joined debate was because I got rejected from the Science Olympiad team at Beckendorf. And honestly, it's probably like the best thing to happen to me too, because I feel like by being exposed to debate this early on, it really gave me an idea for if I wanted to do this. So if I'm being fully honest, debate isn't necessarily for everyone, but it's a lot better to figure that out much earlier than it is much later, right? Like there are a lot of people that do debate later in high school because they think that they have to. And obviously on this panel, you're like seeing the opposite end of people like who really did love debate. So I think it's a good idea to join KSDA early on, learn like about all the different types of debates and like expose yourself to everything to see if it is for you. Because for a lot of people, you're either going to love it or you're going to realize, like for me in Science Olympiad, like it's just not something that's going to work out. But I will say KSDA specifically was very helpful. If I'm being completely honest, I probably got the most rigorous debate training in KSDA, because the incentive for me was that my mom was paying for the program and she was going to pull me out of it if I didn't actually do my work. Versus in high school, it just wouldn't matter as much, right? But I definitely feel like by getting that training like early on and being exposed to so many different areas, it set like a pretty good foundation for me in high school to go into competitive debate with like a much better lens than a lot of other people who are kind of just like joining it because it was a free elective for them.
I think I feel really passionately about this question of how KSDA is so different from any other program. I was just talking with Audrey in the chat. I just realized I'm starting my 10th year of debate, which means I've been doing debate for an entire decade now, which is so crazy to think about. And I don't think that there's been years of debate that I have enjoyed as much in those 10 years experience as the years I had at KSDA. I say this always, but I didn't learn anything about debate my 4 years in high school. All the debate knowledge I've accumulated was with my years in KSDA. And I think that boils down to several points of why the program is so much more successful than other programs that I personally have been a part of. I think the first thing is absolutely the individualized attention. I think speech and debate is not something that you can get better at just talking to a wall or talking in a room of people. Like I think you need individualized support. I think that's a big reason why individuals in classroom settings never get that good at debate, is because they're missing the individualized attention and mentorship that you absolutely need. You need feedback. You need individualized feedback at the end of every single speeches. You need someone that's willing to listen and take time out of their day to listen. And that's something that's always been a really great part of KSDA that makes it super particularly successful, that makes us as competitors super competitively successful. It is that individualized attention and that mentorship that we get. The second, I know I said mentorship a few times, but I want to use it in a different way. I think the mentorship from individuals are completely active within the debate circuit at the high school level and even beyond. Like obviously some of us are college circuit, so it's a little different. But I think that aspect of mentorship is so important. Like when I was a student at KSDA, there were all kinds of individuals in the high school circuit that I would look up to. Audrey was one of them. Jay went to, where did Jay go? Jay went to Princeton. Where did Jay go to Harvard? Jay went to Princeton.
Jay went to Princeton.
Then June went to Harvard.
June went to Harvard, and
June
Hannah
went to
went to
Harvard.
MIT, and all three of them helped out. Yes.
Exactly. Point being, like having those individuals to look up to, not only in a debate sense, but also within like a life, like I don't want to say college because that's kind of sad, but like in a life sense, like having those individuals help you out and mentor you is super, super important. It absolutely helps you in the debate scene. Like I say that the debate circuit is like really, really constantly evolving. So having individuals are currently competing on the circuit is super, super important to getting you the best advice, the best mentorship, the best like just debate knowledge, but also within life, having these really accomplished individuals are competing that are just living academically is not the right word, but performing at a high level in all of these different ways, just super, super impactful, not only as a kid, but continuing. One of our coaches, like Franz, who most people don't know, but was the coach when I was in middle school, like is currently a student in Harvard Law. Like the lessons that he did on argumentation, on logic are all super, super important, super, super really engaging and things that I carry on even in debate circuit. But the last thing I'm going to say before I get cut off, because I have been talking for a while, is Miss Lou. I think that like the program, oh, well, obviously the program wouldn't exist without Miss Lou. She did create it, but I think the reason why she continues the KC experience beyond, because like she founded all of this obviously because both her daughters were involved in debate, but it's been so many years that both her daughters have been off the circuit now. And the reason as to why she continues this program and continues to hosting these classes literally in her own home is because she literally cares so much about these students, cares so much about debate as an activity, and so much beyond even like the kids in debate and just improving the not the experience of the kids, but basically that. Like I was tutoring for her literally a few weeks ago, and she wasn't just talking to the kids about improving in debate, improving their speeches, but literally about how to improve their life, improve their relationship with their parents, developing community within the class, building relationships with the kids. I think that K-State goes really above and beyond to provide the best experience with the kids. And I think that a lot of the reasons come back to how passionate and how committed Miss Lewis to steering this program.
Real quick, I'm obviously very biased because that is my mom. And I mean, I'm gonna be the first one to say it. I obviously like I think was it Parth or Arjun? One of them said that she's an Asian parent, she's strict. Yes, she's definitely is an Asian parent. I can confirm she is a parent who is Asian and definitely holds some of those stereotypes. I was there, I was in y'all's shoes. Um, she probably tells everyone this story, or she tells a lot. I hear her on the phone telling parents this story. Oh, when Audrey first started speech and debate, she was in seventh grade, going to the NSCA tournament in extemp, and she was sitting on her computer and she was crying, reading those articles, and like tears down her face, blah blah. It's true. She's not lying. Um, but she's been through that process with me. And when I was in high school, she was like number one supporter of both myself and then eventually my sister when she got to high school also. And all my friends are like, man, Audrey, your mom and your dad, they always come out and they always come and support y'all at tournaments. My mom would come and watch rounds with me and she would be actively, learning. And then she took all that experience and put it into this program for my little sister and now for all of these other students. And that's why it is individualized because she recognized that from other programs that I've been a part of, I would have to get private tutoring to get individualized attention, which is at the middle school level somewhat ridiculous as Arjun mentioned, your parents or the parents in this call are already paying for this general program. Why do I need to pay an additional astronomical amount for private tutoring that my student should be learning in the classroom in the first place? Uh, and then even at the high school level, as everyone has mentioned, depending on what high school you go to, I noticed a really big shift from when I went to Seven Lakes to Taylor. Seven Lakes has a much bigger speech and debate team. They have a much bigger budget for speech and debate. Taylor has a much smaller team, and so we didn't have as many coaches at Taylor as Seven Lakes High School. And other high schools, even outside of Katy, outside of Houston, they have an even bigger team. And a lot of the reason for their success is because they can, the school can hire private coaches for their students. And not everyone has that luxury. And being able to achieve that and having that individualized attention at the middle school level without having to go to 500 speech and debate summer camps and different sessions and all sorts of things. Not saying that you shouldn't do those things, but it's really different to be able to experience individual attention in a group setting, which sounds like it's contradictory, but it's really not. And we're able to provide that. And I've and to just one more note on my mom, um, out outside of classes, she comes and talks to me about, she asks me for advice. She's always on helping students. If a parent has a question, she's like, Audrey, can you confirm? I think this is a good oratory idea. I just want to make sure that it sounds like a good one. Do you think it's a good one? Or I have this idea for this student. What do you think? And it's something that's always, we're constantly around the clock there. All of us are all there to support. And even after the program, if you send me an email, if you send someone, a former coach, an email, they would do their best to help you no matter what their circumstances, so long as we don't got like in an exam the next day and we procrastinate a study or something. So as long as, we're available, all of us are here to help you for everything, as they were saying, not just speech and debate, but for life also. And so I think that, that's something that's really unique.
And I actually wanted to pitch in on this question because I feel really passionately about it. And so, when I was in, I think, fourth or fifth grade, I was really, really shy. Like, I would talk to absolutely no one. Even like people that I knew, I just wouldn't mutter anything. And my dad, he got sick of it. So he put me into a speech and debate program, not at KSDA, but actually at Huaxia. And I went there for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I would sit in the back of the classroom and fold origami. And it didn't really help build my character. It didn't really help me learn the courage to speak outside of my bubble. And because I felt that I wasn't really seen. I was able to just sit in the back. But then in the first week that I came to Katie Speech and Debate Academy, and it was during the pandemic, so everything was online, I saw instant improvement. I was instantly encouraged to volunteer myself and give my speech when in the past I didn't really have that opportunity. And eventually, instead of the coaches being like, Elise, it's your turn to speak now, I'd always be the first one to volunteer and say, oh, I'd love to give an example. And so as I mentioned earlier, even during the pandemic, the Zoom classes were great. And I could instantly feel the coaches warmth literally radiating through the screen because they cared so much and they wanted to share their experience with the students. And I also feel that the curriculum is extremely tailored towards the individual student. And rather than other programs that'll focus have a one size fits all approach, in at KSDA students will be in breakout rooms with individual coaches to help with the needs that they really need to work on. And for example, multiple times throughout my time learning in the program, Miss Liu and other coaches would pull me aside after class and check in to see how everything was going and if there's anything that I wanted to learn about or focus on for the next class. And as the other panelists touch on briefly, the KSDA community is honestly amazing. I was actually coached by half of the panelists here today, and they taught me so much about speech and debate and pushed me to become truly passionate about the topic. And beyond that, KSDA really helped me when I was applying to private high schools. So, speech and debate was one of my top activities and on the top of my activities list and awards list as well. And Miss Liu was extremely helpful in this process because I came to her after class one day and was asking, is there any way that I can get more involved in the program and help other people besides just myself by learning? And she actually created opportunities for me to showcase my speech and debate skills in ways that I could put on my application, and also created opportunities for me to showcase my non-speech and debate skills. So, for example, she helped me show off my art skills by having me create a website for KSDA and design award posters during the pandemic to boost morale. And also, helped me organize coaches and other students to help me host a free online debate lesson for underprivileged students who would otherwise not have been able to afford these lessons. And I think Miss Liu is honestly just amazing. Because she's so passionate and cares so much and helped me create these activities. And she wrote a amazing recommendation letter for me when I applied. And I remember after all of the application was done and submitted, she read a part of her rec letter to me, and I actually started tearing up because it was so good and so personalized. And I think without KSDA and Miss Liu's help, I definitely would not have been able to get into top high schools like Phillips Academy or Cho something. And so that's all of our questions today. And really quickly, I wanted to bring up that fall registration for our classes is open. So if you're interested, and by what we've said in the webinar today, feel free to reach out to Miss Liu with her contact information at the bottom of this slide. And yeah. So let's open it up to questions and answers. If you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat or just unmute yourself and say it.
Hello, my name is Varun. And first of all, thanks to Ms. Liu and all the panelists for sharing your experience and Ms. Liu to organize this call. So my question is, what advice would you give to younger students starting out in speech and debate and prepare for future competitions?
Did you say advice?
Oh,
Sorry. Was my voice low? Sorry
Was
about
the question what advice you would give?
Yes, to younger students who are just starting out in speech and debate.
okay, I'll start off with the not fun stuff. Do your homework. I know that it's like not fun. Homework is never fun. But it does really make a big difference if you don't, read articles outside of class and it doesn't have to be, super high level stuff. My mom is always being very flexible. And it's just, it really is this little bit of effort every single day that can make a really big difference. And I would recommend for like maybe older students just starting out who have social media, if y'all want to like follow like the New York Times or something like that on Instagram, if you have an Instagram, that's another way that you can do your homework without actually doing your homework, if that makes sense. Like you could be chatting with your friends on Instagram and then pop up, oh, there's a New York Times Instagram story. Oh, look there's this article. Wait, that's kind of interesting. Let me go read that. Oh, let me go do my, what's it called? The thing. It's been a long time since I've been. You guys know what I'm talking. All the students know what I'm talking about, right? So
Wordles?
no, like the weekly homework sheet paper thing. You have to like do the summary of the article.
Oh,
Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
Filing?
Huh?
Like filing?
No. It's like the KSDA mom assigned. Okay, the
oh,
students know exactly what I'm talking about.
Prepped?
Yeah, it's like
Oh.
the weekly article reading thing. If you do that, and then you could that's when we're talking about learning about the real world and being able to apply that stuff. If you don't read outside of class, you're really there. We can't just squish all of the knowledge into your brain. You have to do a little bit on your own, and then you could practice speaking in class and then getting feedback on the speaking in class. Does anyone else have anything to add on that? Sorry, I kind of rambled a bit.
I just have like a few. I think debate is very different from a lot of other activities you might be in when you're younger. Being that it's something that you really have to put initiative forward. Like whenever I was playing violin, my mom could stand by me while I was like crying, right? And so she would have the idea that I was practicing. But for debate, she was very hands off. And that was honestly kind of preferable to me because I realized that this was an activity where I actually had to take things into my own hands, right? Like we mentioned, like rounds and winning and losing. But it can be very discouraging if you're not doing a lot of the work and then like seeing that success early on. So two things, right? Like one, put in the work so that you're actually able to like get out of debate what you want. And like people have different levels of I guess, reward from debate, right? Like some people go in for the community, some people go in for like success in certain levels, other people go in for developing certain skills. So like try to understand like what you want first. I'm assuming whenever you're younger, it's more so for the skills, you can kind of get an idea of where you want to go. But actually work towards those goals. I mean, you're going to be dealing with a lot of like very complex topics that are pretty high level even for a lot of college students too, right? So this isn't really something that your parents should be telling you like, oh, did you file this assignment? Did you like write this speech or whatever? But you should try to find that motivation to do so. Because like, well, I don't know how else to like necessarily put this, but I mean, there's so many other activities you could be doing in that time. And if you're not really making the most out of your time, and the resources that you're given, then like you're not really going to be seeing a lot of the benefits that you initially wanted.
Just to add on that and also answer the other question that's in the chat currently from Lily about what age is a good age to start debate. I think that it comes down to a few factors. I think the initiative part is really understated in doing debate as kids, right? Like, obviously, a lot of us started doing debate when we were a lot younger, honestly, a lot younger than many kids that do debate on the circuit currently. But I think initiative is super, super important. I'll tell you that this past summer, I was coaching debate in Lakeville, and there were 11-year-olds that were grasping the material that I was teaching them a lot better than that were 15-year-olds. And I think that that really goes to show that like it's not really about age. A lot of times it's about the initiative, about the will to not only learn but to understand and to apply the things that you're learning at a high level. But to give you a better answer, Lily, about what is a good age to start debate, I would say for public speaking, obviously the skills within public speaking are really applicable and graspable to any single age. So I would say in terms of the basic course that Ms. Lu provides, I would say that anywhere above 10 is a good age to start public speaking. But if we're talking about competitive debate, I think that the more important question is a personal gauge on where your personal kid's skills lie. Like if they're not at a level at which they're able or comfortable reading long articles, digesting like complex information, like doing some sort of critical analysis, then I think that debate might not be the best place for your kid to start. But obviously, like debate is one of those things that you gain a lot of knowledge, gain a lot of skills doing. So I don't think that should discourage anyone from signing their kids up to do so. I think the debate will teach you a lot of information the second that you do sign up. So it's kind of a flexible answer to your question, Lily. But I think the 2 points is like A, public speaking is a good activity for kids of all ages, and B, to really be good at gauging where your kids are and whether or not those skills are ready to do at a high level like debate.
And adding on to that point, I definitely agree that public speaking is a great opportunity to start anytime. And actually, at KSDA, we have our sessions split into younger students and older students. So we'll definitely like split you guys off based on what we think would fit better with your student. And as for debate, I think that definitely don't like it's best to start early, but don't start too early because that might be harmful. For me personally, I started debate in fourth grade, and I actually don't think that was a good experience for me because it kind of scared me too much from trying because I saw all of the material in elementary school and I was like, this is so hard. I'm never gonna be able to catch up. So I felt like seeing that level of intensity at a young age actually discouraged me from trying harder. So definitely, if you feel like you're up for the challenge, sign yourself up. But if not, feel free to start with speech and debate, with public speaking, and then move your way up to debate. And I see that Zoom user and Rupsa have their hands raised, so feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is River Bounds. I'm in the 7th grade. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in the fall.
It's great to meet you.
Hi.
Did you have a specific question?
Oh no, I just want to say
Okay. No, it's nice. It's good to see your face. Thank you for introducing yourself.
welcome.
Hi, this is Rupsha. I want to thank you all for setting up this amazing session and sharing your experiences. This is really helpful. My question is like, is there a particular trajectory for progressing in speech and debate? Like, you start with some like LD and PF competitions and then move on, or like how does it work? And I know it's a slow process, but when do you think typically, somebody's ready?
Yeah, okay. I think I'm probably the most equipped to handle this question just because I have been coaching for the longest. So very commonly, and I would say there's very, very few exceptions to this. You actually start in speech events. And back when I was on the Seven Lakes debate team, it was actually required that all debate students participate in extemporaneous speaking. And so depending on the age of your student, or your child, when they first are starting out, if they're a lot younger, we're not going to dive them head first into extemp, but we'll do what we call like baby extemps, which is reading a news article and then summarizing and extemporizing or expanding on that article. And then eventually we get into full extemp speeches, which is having only 30 minutes to prepare a 7-minute long speech, and that's what is at the competition level. And so we recommend everyone participate in extemp, regardless of whether or not you want to focus in only public speaking or getting into debate like LD or PF or Congress. And those 3 debate events are all very separated. When it comes to public speaking, you can pick and choose multiple events to compete in, but for debate, you typically just pick one and focus on just the one. So it's very difficult to say for a fact, oh, this is the trajectory your student will take. Now there's even world school debate, which wasn't a thing when I was in high school. But extemp those skills translate into any debate event. And that's why we start all the students off with extemp, and our students do succeed at tournaments in extemp and then go into the high school level and can go into varsity level or competing against, other more senior high schoolers or upperclassmen as opposed to only competing in novice because they have that experience at the middle school level. And so that's what the trajectory kind of looks like. And I mean, Arjun kind of already mentioned about his experience of switching between different debate events to kind of try out different things. So it really just, all the debates have their own characteristics or things that make them unique. Public forum, you have to have a partner that you work well with. And sometimes maybe, when I was at Seven Lakes, I've competed in Lincoln Douglas, which is one-on-one. And I actually don't think I would have been as successful if I just switched to PF at Lincoln Douglas at Seven Lakes, because I needed a partner that meshed well and, matched with my needs. And that's something that, it just depends on where you are, literally what school you're going to, but also where you are in life, and like if you want to work on your own, or if you want to be focusing on collaborating with others, and that can heavily change what events you would be successful in. But we do give personalized advice if students are asking us, if especially 8th graders going into high school, we kind of sit down and talk them through, okay, here's what we think your strengths are. What do you think your strengths are? Okay, what do you think your weaknesses are? What events best match those things? And then we can give you guys more, or not you, or your students, we can give you more suggestions that match up and align with your wants and your needs.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
If we have no more questions, then thank you guys so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Miss Liu, whose email and WeChat is on the slide here. And thank you guys so much.